This week, I had the distinct pleasure of interviewing Lee Cockerell. And for those of you that don't know Lee, he actually was integral in opening up Disneyland Paris. He was also the executive vice president for the Walt Disney World Resort here in Orlando. And that means he basically was the leader for 40,000 different cast members over 4 parks, 2 water parks, an entertainment district, and just a massive operation. In this interview, we dive into insights into leadership, how to create magic in your own business, and he shares some amazing stories about his experience. Let's get into it. So Lee, thanks for joining me.
Sure, good to be here. Thanks.
So what does magic mean to you?
Well, you know, I get asked that occasionally, not so often, but sometimes. And you know, I think it's when it's so good that you can't believe it. You know, it's like whatever it is, whether it's at Disney or whether it's in a restaurant, I just go, whoa. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine it was that good, and people tend to come back for that.
Sure.
Because you don't get it too often.
So would you say like places like the restaurant or Disney or other companies, are they selling magic and their byproduct is a product, or are they selling the product and because of that, magic is what makes the product so great? Well,
they should think about magic because I think today a product alone it's not even close to enough. You can buy a product from anybody. Mm-hmm. You know, you can go on Amazon and just order it.
Yep.
As my wife said yesterday, we were looking for something, and she said, well, I'll just order it. And it came, you know, later in the day.
Sure, and that's magical.
That was pretty magical.
Showing up at the front door.
I mean, it's so magical that UPS and FedEx comes to our house almost every day.
Go figure.
I know the drivers really well.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, there's got to be more. I think, you know, we always do business with people who we know and have a good relationship with and are familiar with. Yeah. And we do it here, you know. We think some of the product, you know, Costco and Publix, they're very reliable, they're very good, the products are good. If something goes wrong, they take care of it, no questions asked. Sure. And so for me, that's not magical, that's just amazing.
Yeah, right. That's just good business, yeah.
But at Disney, you know, that's a big vacation. Mm-hmm. People save for many years to come there.
They do.
It's not expense account business usually like Marriott was. Right. People are paying out of their pocket. They got their kids, and I'm pretty sure that if your kids are happy, the parents are happy.
That's right.
And so we have an advantage at Disney, I think. Most kids, I used to tell my Marriott friends, Disney's really different than Marriott because people don't tell their children, when you grow up, I'll take you to Marriott. So that really annoyed them.
Sure, yeah. Right.
I mean, yeah, so, yeah, it's different. Yeah. And there's not so many brands out there that can say that.
Sure. Yeah. So whether it's Marriott or we get a lot of small business owners here in Orlando that watch, and how can we provide a little bit more magic in what we do?
Well, I think Disney's formula is anybody could repeat it. It's just, I tell people we hire better, we train better, and we treat them better. And when you treat people right, they treat people right, you know. I mean, we all have been annoyed at service or products, and people have been kind of not taking care of it and just kind of blew us off. And I just got a note last night from a lady. I was doing one of these sessions like this yesterday on a site, and a lady wrote in on the chat box. She said, I'm sitting at Disney right now in Chef Mickey's, and everybody is so nice and kind. Yeah. I said, bingo. I mean,
that's what it is, yeah.
You know, and I'm still the same. I have a dry cleaner. I get my shirts done. This guy's great. He loses a shirt occasionally, but I like him. We've known each other for 20 years. If I needed shirts in an hour, he'd get them ready and bring them to me.
Yep.
So it's that kind of relationship. Could I find somebody to do the shirts better? Probably. But
that's the relationship.
I trust him. I stick with him. It's okay. A couple of wrinkles here and there are not going to kill you.
Sure, yeah.
But not getting your shirts or not. He just, he always does the right thing, and I think it's where there's consistency is a big deal. I mean, I want to go back where it's the same next year. I don't want to come back to Disney and it's a disaster.
Yeah, right.
You know,
that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you. Is how do you think it's changed? I mean, you started in 1990 with the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how has it changed in 21 years?
Oh, I think it always is changing, you know. I mean, I didn't even know what a cell phone was.
Sure.
Technology was, I don't know what it was. We had a few little things here and there, but today so much is done through technology, which is good, but also you got to balance that technology because we got a lot of customers who still don't use it. Mm-hmm. A bunch of us are going to have to die before everybody's on technology.
So that's
Even the
caught up with everybody.
call centers, you
Yeah.
know, we have 2,000 people in the call centers taking calls, and we'd like to have none. We'd like everybody to go online, book their business, like the airlines makes us do.
Sure.
And that's not possible yet. So it's changed in that way. It's bigger. You know, anytime you get bigger, you really got to be careful. I was with Marriott. I started with Marriott when they had 32 hotels.
No way. Okay.
Today they have 7,000.
Sure, yeah.
It's different. I mean, I used to see Bill Marriott all the time. You knew everybody in the company. I mean, it was to implement a new procedure, operating guideline was no big deal.
32 hotels.
I mean,
yeah.
32 hotels. I mean, Bill would show up and check himself.
Sure, yeah.
Now today, he doesn't even know where his hotels are.
Okay.
I was with the Marriotts once, and we went by a restaurant. Mrs. Marriott said to Bill Marriott, "Do we own that?" I was going, "I know everything I own."
Yeah, right. You guys are another level.
If you get too big, you got to be careful. And I know Michael Eisner told us once, never talk about how big we are. Only talk to the guests about how good we are. And I think that's every business should keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Which means you got to hire the right people. That's the main thing. If you don't do that right, you're dead. I mean, we've run into those people in our lives when we go shopping or interact or on a phone or call your cell phone company or the airline.
Comcast or something, yeah.
They disconnect you.
Sure.
So, and then train them right. And then treat them right. I mean, literally treat people so well they don't want to quit. They want to come to work. And that's not always. I mean, a lot of people leave Disney because of their boss. Probably, I would say 85% of the cast members at Disney would rate their leader good. I'd work for them again. But 15% would not. And there's 7,000 managers, so 15%, there's 1,000 of them out there that are annoying people.
Need to level up, yeah.
Yeah, and it's something you got to really get after. You got to hire the right people, and you got to get rid of the wrong people. That's the part nobody wants to do, because my theory is most people don't want to do hard things.
Right.
You know, I hope he gets better.
Yep.
I hope he turns around. I wish he would. No, and that's one thing I've been talking about a lot lately. If you don't do the hard things, life gets harder.
Sure. So I want to talk about that actually, because I've been following your blog for years, and I looked back in some of the old posts, and you're like pretty like extreme ownership. Understand your who your personal role is. Like there's a couple things I grabbed from here. It was like, don't be afraid of short-term suffering to set yourself up for long-term satisfaction. You said you also need to have to know more. Let's see. You have to know more to be more, and you have to do quicker to keep ahead. To me, that seems like you're like telling people, own your role, understand what you're supposed to do, and get really clear. But a lot of people don't like to do that nowadays. They're looking for somebody else to do it for them. Clarity's
hard.
Clarity creates magic. You've said that.
Clarity is, try to be clear with people that they don't like it. And sometimes my wife's clear with me and I don't like it.
That's right, okay.
My mother was always clear with me.
Okay.
Mothers don't mess around. There's total clarity. But they use two things that every business owner ought to really use, because they can, is empathy and discipline. I work with a lot of leaders out there who want to be liked, and that's great if you are, but you got to be firm and fair.
Sure.
That's the key, I think. Firm and fair, so people know, he's great. When we're doing a good job, he tells us. When we're not, he tells us, and he's doing it for us. But a lot of people just don't deal with non-performance, and then it goes from bad to worse.
Sure.
And next thing you know, it's one person, then it's 10, then it's 20, and your business can change pretty dramatically over the years. You really need that discipline in there, like your mother did. She loved you, but she didn't mind kicking your butt in the morning before you went to school, and then telling you she loved you just before you went out the door.
Right.
And I think these are so simple that but it's, and anybody that had a great mother knows what to do. I tell people all the time, you got a business problem, you don't know what to do, call your mom. She'll tell you.
Yeah.
I got a guy here at work, he's not coming in, Mom. They got a bad attitude, he's saying inappropriate things, and what should I do? And she'll say, have you talked to him? Oh, no. Well, why don't you talk to him? And then you call her back, say, I talked to him, and it's no better. It's been a month. And what should I do? Fire him.
You're going over and you're over your vines.
We all know this.
Sure.
But we don't want to do the hard things. That's the number. I think it's the only reason people don't exercise. It's hard.
It's hard, yeah. Exactly.
One guy told me last week, he said, I started that weightlifting to get more better, and I quit. Those things are heavy.
Sure, yeah.
Well, a lot of hard things are heavy.
Yep.
Conversations, making hard decisions. I tell people today, if you can't make hard decisions and have hard conversations, number one, don't have children.
Yeah.
And number two, don't become a leader, because that's all you do. That's basically all you do all day. You don't fry the chicken at Chick-fil-A.
Sure.
I told Chick-fil-A once, it's not, chickens are fine. They're not going to be your problem. It's going to be the people.
Yeah.
And it's true. And those basic things, people got to say, oh, yeah, that's right.
That makes sense, yeah.
I got to start. And when you start doing hard things, it becomes easier to do them because you're doing them for the right reason. That's
building that muscle.
That's the way. I think, if somebody gets fired because I didn't talk to them way back and I help them and explain to them, that's pretty much my fault. And that's pretty sad when, if your mother doesn't deal with you, you grow up to be a nut and a drug addict and a thief.
Right.
Well, she should feel better about that.
Yeah, exactly.
She's created the wrong kind of citizen. And it's really what Mr. Marriott told me once, if you have flies in your restaurant, you like flies,
That's good. It's good. So speaking of family, so I saw your accolades and your awards. You're a grandparent, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you, you were managing tens of thousands of people, helping grow a big organization. How do you balance family and also going after something you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, you got to decide that that's what you're going to do. I mean, I think, I teach time management for 35 years, and you got time to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But people always have time to do what they want, but not what they should do. And you got to really understand what those are. And what happens if I don't spend time there? What happens if I do? Half the time, if you don't spend time somewhere, nobody cares anyway. I mean,
Right, yeah.
You could dream up all this stuff to waste your time, like whatever it is. And usually it's because you don't want to do the hard things, so you find something easy to do.
That's fair.
And I think it's a matter of, with my family, I talked to my son every night, even though I traveled for 10 years with Marriott, and I always got home on Friday by noon for his football games in the afternoon when he was in high school. And I had those agreements with my bosses before I took the job. And I had one, Al Weiss, he told me, Lee, I said one day I have to leave early. Priscilla wants me to go pick up something. He said, Lee, you always take care of your family first. I'll be disappointed if you don't. And that's why I'm married 52 years.
I was going to say, congratulations.
I'm taking care of that, right?
Yep.
My wife said she's going to stay. I'm getting better. So, I mean, you got to decide what are the 3 or 4 things that there's no negotiation on. When I retired, Priscilla told me I have 3 new ones. Number 1, take care of yourself so you can take care of us. Number 2, take care of your family. Number 3, take care of your business, and if you have any time left over, you can help Kim Kardashian with her problems, or the Real Housewives, or you can play golf, or you can do whatever you want. But until you take care of your health, yourself, your family, and your business, well, hey, you better rethink the way you think, because it's not right. So if you think there's anything more important than your health, you are out of your mind.
Yeah.
Because if you're not here, you can't help anybody.
That's true.
And the number one reason people procrastinate and don't have much success in their lives is they don't feel well. Emotionally, like now with what's going on in the U.S. and around the world, is people are really having a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression. And if you don't feel well, you don't do much. We all have been there. You don't get enough sleep, you had an argument with somebody, you're worried about something. Those days, if you could think back, or you drank too many beers, or ate too much food right before you went to bed. I mean, there's a million reasons. Or you need to see a psychiatrist because your mother screwed you up when she was raising you.
The other kind of mother, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's planted things in your brain that keep you awake. I tell people half the stuff in your brain's not even true anyway, so you ought to forget it.
You just made it up, yeah.
Or at least try to find out if it is true.
Fair enough.
And I think that's what happens. And I'm very clear about, I take care of myself and how I eat and how I sleep. And my wife and I have a trainer that we work out with a couple times a week on strength, balance, and agility.
Yeah.
Because, you do the things now that'll pay off later. I'm 77, so I don't need to be falling down.
No.
Might not get up.
Right.
I tell people I'm in the ozone, the obituary zone, so I've got to really be paying more attention to this.
Sure.
And if you start early, you can be You know, I don't miss any of my doctor's appointments. I do what my doctor tells me. I don't decide that I know more than he does.
Yep.
I really careful what I eat. I just had a burger for lunch, but I won't have another one for dinner.
Some balance there, yeah.
French fries were great, but only occasionally.
Fair.
And you've got to, if you don't understand what you want to do on purpose, you won't do it. I mean, you got to, on purpose.
Yeah.
And people need to start thinking about, what am I going to do on purpose next week? Not just by accident. Meet with somebody, have a conversation with somebody, sign up with a trainer, whatever. Because we have a lot of thoughts, but we don't follow through.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to your priorities that you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
Right?
You got to have them. And you got to have them at work, too. I mean, at work, I said I focused on 3 things: hiring the right people, making sure everybody got trained, and we treated them right. I didn't get involved in the technical stuff. I had people I'd hired to do that, engineers and food and beverage people and retail and security and transportation. So I had to figure out where to spend my time. And I'm not sure people sit around and think, okay, how should I spend my time? What they do is hire great people and then bother them all day, you know,
Sure.
and then the people quit.
Right.
And you really got to get that straight. There's a lot of psychological issues related to leading people. And, you know, great people don't want you to micromanage them. Or I can't, if I hire all great people now, so you got to come to me for approval on everything, that makes absolute no sense.
Yeah, that's why I hired you, yeah.
So I tell people, either you hired the wrong person or you need a psychiatrist. There's something wrong with you.
Yeah, right.
You know?
So I've heard many stories about like your leadership style at Disney, and it's all been really good. And I read one of your blogs, and you said something along the lines of, you didn't bring like stuff from home to work, and you're always even keeled, and you weren't going off on your employees, which sounds great. But then you have a lot of your past employees who agreed, where they're like, no, Lee was amazing. So his face is like, I'm not really sure. But how do you do that? How do you keep an even keel when times are tough? You're opening a new park in another country, and things are crazy. You have to know yourself. I have the ability to overreact, but I know not to do it. I just know. I mean, I've learned to, even in my marriage, I mean, let it go. Yeah.
Priscilla said recently, "Why you don't seem to ever annoy me anymore? Why?" And I said, "Because I let it go. It's not worth it. There's no upside to it. It's temporary. Maybe your brain gets 10 seconds of satisfaction, and then you pay for it." I've just learned to understand that emotions are controllable. If you want, you know, you gotta get better. So if you don't get better, you get in trouble.
Yeah.
And more aware of what's right. And I said it's hard to do the right things, you know, but it's better to do the right things than to always be right.
That's fair.
I've learned.
I've learned.
Being right all the time, first it annoys people. They don't, I mean, we know those people who are always right.
Yeah.
They're never wrong. It's always somebody else's fault. And people are not going to trust me if they're afraid of me. I mean, I don't want anybody. I never raised my voice to anybody. I never intimidate anybody. I never talked down to anybody. And they were good about coming in and helping me understand things maybe Lee, you shouldn't do this. I accepted it. And so you got to have a familiar, comfortable, trusting relationship with people, or you're not ever going to be as good as you could be. Never.
Yeah.
You know, and my wife told me today, she said, you know, you're driving recklessly today. I said, well, really? She said, yeah, you're driving too fast. And you almost, and I said, oh, okay. I mean, in the years past, I was like, hey, don't tell me how to drive. Get in the back seat if you want to. But I said, okay.
I'll slow down, baby. It's all right. Yeah.
I didn't slow down, but I said, okay.
Yeah.
That solved it. I mean, you just got to let this stuff go. I mean, you see all this stuff going on in the world on airplanes, people having burst and getting mad, and their hamburgers are not cooked right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what?
Yeah.
This is absurd.
Sure.
And there's no upside for you. Your reputation is damaged, and when you damage your reputation, you damage your results. And because your people you work with you know a lot more than you do.
Sure.
I tell people, you know, your customers and your employees know everything you need to know if they'll tell you.
If they'll tell
and
you.
they won't tell you unless they believe that it's in their best interest.
Sure. You've made a space for them to make it okay, right?
Sure. They don't trust leadership as far as you can throw them.
Sure.
And I don't blame them, because there's a lot of bad behavior. And frankly, it's mainly men. So that's, I think everybody needs quit worrying so much about technology and worrying about their own behavior and their own influence.
Yeah.
Too many people underestimate their influence in the world.
So let's talk about that influence.
Yeah, I mean, that's role modeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you raise kids. They know the kids are always watching you. People used to tell me, well, the kids are asleep, we can talk about this or that. I said, first of all, kids are never asleep.
Yeah.
They probably already bugged your room. They got a listening device in there. Don't ever believe you can do something inappropriate because maybe somebody's not listening. That's where you go down. Look at all these people get in trouble every day.
Sure.
Their mic is on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're saying, who said stuff like that?
Exactly.
I mean, you out of your mind?
Right. Yeah, I remember John Maxwell said, "Our leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." Do you agree with that?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, influenced you to. Hopefully, I'm influenced in the positive way, but you can do it both ways.
The other way, sure.
And that's why we have kids. We don't want our kids to play with other kids because we know the influence.
That's a really good point.
We'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, we had over the years I didn't want our son to spend time at that house because I knew what was going on. And father was a nut and not very honest and would go through toll booths and act like he threw the money in. And the kids saw that.
That's your training them right there. Yeah.
Daniel came home and reported it to us because he knew better. And influence is huge. I mean, everybody's watching you every day, all day long, whether you know them or not. Often they know me, and I don't know them.
Sure.
I said, I have to behave in the grocery store.
That's
I have to behave
exactly.
driving. I don't have any
You
road
never know
rage.
who's watching.
Yeah, I let everybody go by. You want to go by? Please do. And everybody's got a gun now, so I let them go by. I don't know who's going to shoot you.
That's right, yeah.
So it's just calm down. Let it go. Because most of that anger is from half the stuff in your brain is not true. I mean, you got anger up there and something happened, you're insecure, you don't believe in yourself. These are things that happened maybe when you were a child or younger, or who knows what it is, but you got to sort it out. You don't need to carry it and make other people just as screwed up as you are.
Sure, yeah.
And to be aware that we all have issues. I mean, we do. We have one of my biggest problems in my life was insecurity.
How do you overcome that?
Well, I probably didn't, but I've learned to cover it up and let it go so many times. I tell everybody I grew up on this farm in Oklahoma with no indoor plumbing. My mother was married 5 times. I've been adopted twice. I got my name Cockerell when I was 16.
Wow.
My husband, number 4, he had money. I went to college, flunked out because I didn't go to class, went in the Army. I have a lot to be insecure about, and I was.
Sure.
Because now I'm in business. And they always introduce you when you give a speech where you graduated from Harvard, I didn't graduate from anywhere. And actually I gave the commencement address at Oklahoma State, the school I dropped out of last year. Yeah.
How'd that feel being up there?
I was at first thinking, what should I say to these people about, I didn't really graduate either. But they liked it. And I think, again, it just shows you, just because you had problems, it doesn't mean you can't go on and go forward. And
Yeah.
I finally, when I was 22 or 23, finally had an interest in learning. I mean, when I was 19, 18, 20, I didn't read the paper, I didn't watch, I knew nothing. I lived in Oklahoma and I never been out of the state.
No kidding. Okay.
Now today I've been to 45 countries. I've worked all over the world. I know people. I tell people now, I even have friends with the name Muhammad, Joe. Do you?
That's right, exactly, right.
Or Jose. Or we know people from everywhere. And I tell young people today, as soon as you graduate from college, your parents won't like this, but get out of the village. Nothing's going to change in the village.
No, that's true.
People aren't going to change.
You're probably not going to change.
You're not going to change. Go to a big city and work for 5 years. You'll be a different person. You'll be more successful. You'll know how to handle obstacles in your life because you'll have them.
Yeah.
I mean, I left home, went in the Army, went off. Got to Washington. We had nothing. We had our last paycheck from the Army, and we took K rations with us so we could eat for a few days.
No way.
And we found 3 or 4 guys to live with, to share the apartment rent. I mean, you just figure it out. And I think too often it's too easy. And if you don't have to figure it out when you're young, figuring it out when you're older is hard.
And more costly.
Because the obstacles don't quit coming. I mean, it's every morning you wake up till you go to bed, there's obstacles in your life, from traffic to people not doing what they said they were going to do, to things you're having to deal with to fix that somebody else broke. I mean, and you got to get pretty good at handling them.
Sure.
and handling them properly, doing the right thing, not just doing something. And a lot of people ignore them.
Yeah.
And the obstacles pile up. And then they make you have more insecurity because you know they're sitting there. And then you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep. And then when you can't sleep the next day, I think sleep is one of the keys in life.
It's part of the health.
Yeah. People ask me how I overcome the stress at Disney. I said, hot shower and good night's sleep.
So speaking of stress of Disney, so Paris just opened back up today. So now all the parks are back open.
Yeah.
Does that have a special place for you, the Paris park?
Well, it does in a lot of ways. First of all, my wife had a French boyfriend when we first met.
Okay.
So she told me she wasn't going to go out with me. She was going to live in France. And her kids were going to speak French and English, and that turned out to be true, but it was with me.
With you, nice to see you won on that one.
And my son married a French lady, and we have French grandchildren, half French, half English, half American. And it was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
Everybody should try to work internationally. It tests your patience. I got stressed out just stopping to get gas because how do you do it? And I was always afraid. I was hoping they don't talk to me because I didn't speak French. And the good thing about the French, they don't talk to you. So I never had to worry about that. You just say, merci, that's it. Get the check. That's it.
They're good.
They don't tell jokes like Americans. They don't, where are you from? Where are you going? How long are you here? They don't care.
They're good, yeah.
And so it was easy to live there, but it was also hard.
Sure.
You live in a place where everything's different. It's kind of like when I went to Japan once. I called Priscilla and I said, "You will not believe how many Japanese people are here. They're everywhere."
Yeah.
It built my confidence a lot.
I could imagine.
I didn't know what I was capable of because we worked long hours, hard out. I didn't know I could do that. You'll run into people say, "I work 18 hours a day."
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I can tell you, most people don't because it's rough. And I would get up at 4:30 in the morning and get home at 10:30 at night. And all I did was sleep. I didn't drink any wine. I did nothing but sleep because if you don't get enough sleep and under pressure, you become a problem. You become the obstacle.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody stays away from your office. They don't want to come near you because you're... So it was a great experience. I would tell anybody, if you can get an international... Our granddaughter worked in France for a summer. And she came back a whole new person. She had to find an apartment. She had to learn to use the metro system. She had to, she's a different person.
Got to grow you, I'm sure, yeah.
It's amazing. You just watch them go, wow, what happened? Because that confidence, as you know, you can do it. And so it was great. I would, I wouldn't take anything for it. And that's probably what I got promoted. It was another experience. I tell people today, the way you get ahead in life is education, experience, and exposure. Exposure to other people, other things, and experience. I learned 10 times more in experience than I would in school.
I'm sure.
We all do. Because the things you learn in school, even they're not very relevant for very long. They change so much.
So you put it into action.
Like the history they teach you, they find out later it wasn't true anyway.
Right.
And then how to do math differently. I don't know.
I'm still trying to figure that one out with my kids.
I don't even want to figure that one out.
Right.
And so many things you learn in school it's good, and no question. But we know a lot of well-educated people that are really a problem, because they haven't had experience and exposure. Everything offends them, and they don't like these people and those people and that. And if you go to live in Washington, D.C., you better like people because everybody's from somewhere else.
It's kind of like Orlando. There's really not a lot of people that are from Orlando, yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you get in the hotel business, hospitality, everybody's that's an entry-level job.
Yeah.
So those experiences are really amazing. And
Let me ask you this. So you seem like you've got a very humble approach to leadership, yet you said your self-esteem was something you struggled with. Usually those don't pair really well together. Usually the self-esteem guy is the bulldog in the room that's going to make everybody feel poorly. But you use that as like an opportunity to learn and grow. So how did that come together?
Well, somebody asked me why I was successful with this problem. I said, because I had this huge fear of failure. And I read a lot in my 20s, started reading more and going to seminars, listening, trying to understand how people get results, and thinking about leaders who had no authority.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about the leader, Mandela and Dr. King and all these people, they had no authority, and they got huge results.
Sure.
And people followed them.
They did.
With no authority.
droves,
They had
yeah.
no authority. You know, Dr. King didn't say, oh, okay, let's give this up. It's a little hard. I don't want to get beat up, put in jail again.
Right.
No. I mean, you got to stay on, if you believe in something, you got to stay with it. And I saw a quote the other day from Einstein. He said, I'm not smarter than anybody else. I just work on the problem longer.
That's right, yeah.
I stick with it.
Yep.
And there's something to that. You know, it's like my marriage.
Stick with it.
Stick with it. On balance, it's great, but there are moments.
Sure.
And those moments, you can't go over the edge. You got to take a deep breath and know that you can make things better. Sometimes we want to blame somebody else, but it's usually us.
I agree.
It's almost always us, actually. And everybody's looking for an excuse. I say, you know, I go into a restaurant and the bathroom's dirty. They want to blame the poor guy that cleans the bathroom when it's the general manager's fault.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't have any values and you're a bad guy, it's your mother's fault. I mean, seriously. I
Sure,
mean,
yeah.
So these are the kinds of things I think about a lot, is trying to make sure I've got the right perspective on not assuming what, you know, you got to not assume what you see in front of you. It may not be true.
It might be playing tricks on you.
Yeah, I mean, we jump to conclusions so fast.
That's right.
You know,
Yep.
and take your time to find out if that's really true before you overreact and screw something up, because just sitting down with somebody and asking them why do you have that swastika on your forehead? You know,
Get some understanding, yeah.
you know, I mean, but there's so many things that we jump to conclusions with, and I think that's what happens with all the problems we have today with people not respecting people from another religion or color or sexual orientation. I mean, it's these things, it's their parents' fault and the great-grandparents. It just keeps going forward.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to stop it. And I know that. I've been married 52 years. My mother was married 5 times.
Yeah.
My brother's been married 4 times.
So you stopped it.
We stopped it.
Yeah.
My son's been married 27 years now. My grandkids can't even imagine a divorce in this family.
Yeah.
It's inconceivable to them.
Sure.
Because
You were the role model, yeah.
and even my marriage, it was touch and go. You know, I annoyed my wife a lot because
sure.
I was
Traveling
working
and
all the
everything else,
time,
yeah.
not paying attention.
Yep.
It was about me trying to get a promotion and not there when I should have been. So luckily she stayed.
That is 52 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's, you're known as like, you know, Disney Magic Leadership Lee, right? So what's something that maybe people don't ask you enough of that you're maybe passionate about? Or what's a question that you wish you were asked more often?
Well, I think everybody ought to be thinking about what they can do. You know, I says, if you know something, you ought to be teaching it. Mm-hmm. And don't be bashful. We all know something. We all can set a better example. And I'm really working a lot now on working with people, hospitals, schools, on mental health. This whole issue of anxiety, depression, which is, I went through it myself with my wife when she was sick back in 08 and 09, almost died. I had to take care of her for 2 years. I ended up with, I never thought it could happen to me, ever. I'm tough, you know?
Sure.
Well, no. Man, I got struck down by anxiety, and then I went to depression, and then I lost 25 pounds, sat on the couch for 6 months, and finally she pushed me to go see a psychiatrist and got some meds, and I started doing a lot of things to get over it. And this is a big deal. I would say I really now pay more attention to people. Why are they doing, what's going on here?
Yeah.
There's more than, you know, and especially when somebody's one way and they change all of a sudden, there's something going on.
Sure.
And I tell people, watch your kids, watch your teenagers. When something happens, something happened.
Sure.
And people say, well, I say, you know, you'll hear parents say, I didn't know my daughter was on drugs. I say, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know my son was building a bomb in his room.
Right.
Well, I say, if you have teenagers, you're not paying attention, and you ought to go in a teenager's room every 20 minutes because you don't know what they're up to.
It's always changing. Yeah.
I know, it was checked on us all the time. We put a picture, centerfold of Facebook up and Playboy up in our room with tacks when we were about 12 or 13. We found one. She was in there like, oh, so often. It was up maybe a half an hour.
Right, exactly.
Then we had to tell her we found it in her husband's
Interesting.
truck. But
awesome.
you got to pay attention.
Sure.
Everybody in America says they're great when you ask them, and this is the biggest lie in the country.
Sure.
People are not great.
Right.
We all got 10 problems you don't even know about.
That's right.
I can put on a good face. You don't know what I'm going through, and I don't know what you're going through. I mean, it's real. Mm-hmm. When people say, I'm great, I said, really?
You sure?
For sure?
Yeah,
really?
right, yeah. And so that obviously makes you a better leader, being more empathetic, the mental health piece, all of that kind of even flows back to leadership.
Well, we all want to be recognized and appreciated and be somebody, and somebody to show interest in us. When you do that, it helps them. Mm-hmm. They get better.
Sure.
And we don't do that with a lot of people. I mean, a lot. They're missing that kind of interaction and that trust, and somebody they can count on, and somebody will tell you the truth. If you don't have somebody in your life tell you the truth, it's pretty rough, because we all think we're perfect.
Yeah.
That's one thing God did well. He said, well, you're all perfect.
You're all good.
Really?
All these mistakes, I'm perfect, yeah.
I think the answer to business is to be more focused on the people and less on the product.
I love that.
Then you'll make money.
That's the byproduct.
It's like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could say Priscilla and I could have a big argument because maybe she doesn't have something in the fridge that I want, right?
Right.
And what's better, that banana or staying married? I mean, we need to. People just get There's too much overreaction, and that's from anxiety. That's from stress. That's from feeling out of control. That's the big thing. Feeling out of control it's distress that kills you in life, not
so
stress.
How do people handle
distress.
that?
Yeah, I think first you got to be physically fit. There's one way to do it. Take care of yourself. Maybe you need to see, a lot of people need to see a psychologist,
Sure.
need to see somebody, try to understand why you feel this way. More and more now when I have an opinion, I think, why did I think it? Is it true, or is it just sitting up in my brain? I didn't know. Because a lot of stuff up there you don't even know is there.
Right, yeah.
It comes out and bites you when you least expect it. You overreact and you say, why did I do that? I mean, you don't. And I think a lot more about what I'm thinking these days than before acting.
Sure.
And I didn't used to. I'm very impulsive. I could just do it, I took a job, got fired 90 days later. Now I have a wife, a 2-year-old, no money, no car, no job. An impulsive decision. I would never do it that way again.
Yeah, but obviously it led you down to the road that you went down, right?
It did, but my father-in-law, I had lunch with him after that because we were living with him while I'm looking for a job. Now here we are with a 2-year-old moving back, trying to find help. He was an admiral. Oh. We took me to lunch, and I'm sitting there, and he's telling Lee, you might want to be a little more careful when you make these big decisions in life.
My daughter, I'd rather her not.
And I think he was sitting there thinking, oh, they're going to live with us for the rest of their life, and he's right. I used to think time management was the most important thing, doing things, scheduling, getting it done, but now I think it's helping people understand you've got to really work harder at understanding how to make decisions, because most people are in trouble because they say you're not a product of your circumstances. You're a product of the decisions you made in your life.
I agree with that.
You're where you are. You made those decisions.
Sure.
You could have gone that road, that road, that road. You could have not gone any road. You could have stayed. But you're a product of the decisions you make every day.
So you think a lot of people, though, that they get that paralysis by analysis on making decisions, right?
Absolutely.
So you can go grab a bunch of information and never make a decision.
I had a guy today, he wrote me and he asked about the very same thing, taking a risk. Mm-hmm. How do you decide? I said, it's hard, but you got to talk to a few people, check it out, make sure, people you trust, see if they got an opinion you haven't thought about. And then risk is always risky.
Sure, yeah.
I went to France, quit Marriott. But if you don't take the risk, my career would not have been half of what it was if I hadn't done that.
Sure. And it could have went the other way.
It could. I told Priscilla I could get fired in France and have to move our own furniture back. She said, I don't care, let's go. And I had her support, which was also important. And I knew I could always get a job as a waiter, so I would always have a job because I'm a good waiter. Yeah.
You're not afraid, you're a humble dude.
No, I can serve, and I know how to get the tips. And
I love
risk. And I think risk is risky, and it's hard. But sometimes it's not as hard as you think it is. You know, I tell people today, people say, I want to get a job. You can get a job every minute today.
Yeah. Everywhere I go, it's a
I don't know if I
now
want to
hiring.
try it. Do it.
Do it.
Move to New York. Take the damn job. And go.
Sure.
You know, you're not going to starve to death.
Yeah, this isn't your practice life, right? This is your life.
Because regrets are worse.
Oof.
I
Yeah.
wish I had.
Do you have any of those?
I wish I'd finished college, but I still have reoccurring dreams about that I can't find my class. And the reason is because I didn't go in the first place. But yeah, I have that that bothers me. It doesn't bother me so much from it hadn't affected my career. It's affected my self-confidence of people saying, not anymore, but when I was younger and everybody was graduating, here's Lee, he's out there in the Army, left college after you never went back. Yeah, that, but not much other. I mean, I got married young, so we've been together a long time. And I was 24, she was 22, and tightened things up. But I would say I also regret I should have been nicer.
Yeah.
Been more aware of, as my granddaughter said, the most important thing is be nice. You know.
That's good.
And it's so true.
What keeps you busy nowadays? What are you up to?
Yeah, well, I've got a lot going on. I've written 4 books. Just put a 5th one out recently.
He was a co-author with your son?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardwire Magic, and we're working together on some things. And they're working alone. And I'm working alone. And I've got the Cockerell Academy, which has got 8 courses on it now, and more coming.
If people want to get a hold of you to get some of that, where do they go?
Yeah, they can go to leecockerell.com or cockerellacademy.com. It's all there. We're about to work with Ron Logan, who ran all entertainment for Disney Worldwide.
Yeah.
He's given us all his material and videos of how to develop a parade, how to develop a show on Broadway, and we're going to add all those on the Cockerell Academy.
That's amazing.
We just met with him a couple of days ago, and he wants to put it on there. My son's putting some of his classes on there. We've created classes for colleges,
Sure.
Credit classes, and also certificate courses. And we're about to do the 2nd and 3rd one coming up, and met with UCF Dean to talk about that we have some material that they cannot replicate.
Yeah.
I mean, we know things that are different because of what we've done.
Yeah.
And so there's a big market out there just for fun. And Cockerell lady in St. Louis, she wants to buy 15 Cockerell Academy memberships, and she wants me to have a 2-hour session with all of her leaders because they want to hit the restart button on we're going down a different path. And
Sure.
so those things are a lot of fun. I meet people every day. I just had lunch with a lady who's the same thing. She's working on a whole online about energy related to how you feel and the different kinds of resources that are available to help you if you're struggling in different parts of your life.
Sure.
And it's amazing what you learn when you get out, getting away from Disney.
Sure.
Everybody I knew was from Disney. Now everybody I know is from everywhere.
New experiences again, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I went to Baghdad during the war, did 13 seminars for the military back in 2011. The general is now the Secretary of Defense.
No kidding.
He and I are,
Not a bad person to know.
I'm going like, he wrote a beautiful recommendation for me. I'm going, but just happened to fall into because when you open up and meet people, like down there, we meet.
Yeah.
If you don't meet people, nothing's going to happen.
That's right, yeah.
If you sit at home and hope things work out. And I like to meet people because it's so interesting what people are doing. I've learned things about, there's businesses out there I didn't even know it was a business. I didn't know there was even a product.
Sure.
Or the pharmaceutical business, it's just endless of what people are doing. We have a cousin that teaches how to use the robotic heart surgery.
Like surgery?
Yeah.
That's
do it
crazy.
across, he can do it from here in Switzerland, operate
No way. Across
anywhere. And
if I'm
he
ready
tells
for
me about that stuff, and I'm going, really? And my grandson now is a biomedical engineer, and he's working on one of those devices for another company, building it.
Yeah.
I'm going, I didn't even know this stuff,
Sure.
I told somebody I didn't even know what a podcast was till we started doing
So you
one.
started doing one. Now you're putting them out all the time.
Now we've done 350 sessions. They're out there. And what you don't know is what's scary. You don't get in trouble for what you do. What you don't do is get you in more trouble.
Yeah.
Or don't know. what you don't know in technology, how to apply it, I think every time I learn something, I think, why didn't I know that? You'll hear about some country on the news.
Sure.
I said, that's a country? I didn't even know it was a
You've
country.
been to a bunch of them.
I get my phone, I look it up, there's 4 million people live there.
Right,
I go, really? I mean, or words that I don't understand the definition. I look them up and say, oh, yeah, I've heard that all of my life. I never looked it up before. Now I understand. I mean, if you know something, it's your fault. It's in your pocket.
Yeah.
If you have it, you can, anything.
You have access everywhere.
You're reading something, you look it up, boom, you got it. And we've never had that available. You know, in my day, you'd have to carry the encyclopedias around with you. But now everybody's got one in their pocket.
Yep.
But are you getting the mileage out of it? Because you got to get smarter every day, or you become irrelevant. And so it's fun to be old and still like to do that stuff, because I was probably the last person to get a smartphone, because I don't need it.
Right.
Now I look back, how stupid that was. I mean,
Leverage
it's
that
helped
technology.
me so much. I mean, I do my business on it.
Right.
And my work and my classes, and I mean, it's hard to think back when we didn't have something.
I think it's more fearful though, right? People are afraid to dive into something that unknown, right? But that's how you grow. That's how you get the experiences.
Most people don't want to jump into the hard things. And once I said, the harder it is, and the more you don't want to do it, that's probably the thing you ought to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, people don't want to exercise, you probably
should go do that.
People don't want to get their annual physical or their colonoscopy, or that's probably what you should do.
Sure.
They don't want to, whatever it is, push in public speaking.
Yep.
Well, you got to push yourself to do it. And then everything's hard before it's easy.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've been a wealth of information. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah,
Definitely,
good,
if someone's
fun.
looking for the courses or to sign up, leecockerell.com.
Yeah,
Thanks,
they're
Dan.
there.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you, man. Thanks
thank
for
you.
having me over.